Yeah, hi. Welcome back to my channel and with shows. I am Shiva here. Hi all. Hope you all are good. So coming back to this session after a long time, I'm back with the .NET 6 new session, which I'm going to cover today. With this is regarding CQRS pattern, which is currently widely used in the .NET Core applications nowadays, in the microservices or large scale applications in the real time. There, everyone is using CQRS pattern. So now I am going to give a demo of this pattern with a simple .NET Web API 6 example. So coming to CQRS, this is nothing but a command query responsibility segregation using MediatR pattern. Okay, what it does is nothing but nowadays we used to have one model which we normally used to create, which we used to work with the get, create. Same model is being used for writing and reading, but when it comes for the large scale applications, this becomes a issue in order to retrieve data faster and have the security on these models, DTO models. We have come up with the CQRS pattern. With this, we will be having queries separated, commands separated, which will be me. Queries will have the search operations, read operations. Commands will have the write operations like create, update, delete. With this separation, it's easier to manage and security wise also. And we have mediator pattern which will provide the uh, which will provide the loosely coupling mechanism. So coming to this application, the first step is to let's understand by building one application here. You just create a new project first step and select ASP.NET Core Web API. This is .NET Core 6 and click on next and give the name and click on next and make sure it is a .NET 6 and have the default selections same HTTPS controllers open API support, and after create button you will get to see one solution is being created at your end. In that it will roughly have only controllers and controllers only with app settings JSON. And the first step now you need to do is next step, have these NuGet packages installed in your application. First is mediator pattern, entity framework core, design, SQL server. We are using tools. Swashbuckle is already default. We will get have these packages installed in your machine. Second step, and the third step you are going to do is create a folder called models and have a class of your wish. I am having a employee details class which will have ID, name, email, designation, and base location. Okay, after that third step I will be having one more folder named data. So as of now you are clear, right? You will have the application creation created, have the NuGet packages. Third step is create the model. Fourth step is create a data folder and create your application DB contest, which is inherits DB contest, because we are using entity framework code first approach. So have this constructor place, have the configuration property because we are going to work with the DB configuration objects, and override one base class method, that is on configuring method, to make sure to use SQL server and default connection. We will be having app settings, give your own default connection. So coming back to here, we will be having one property which will have the which is by with this line we are going to create the table, okay, with this name. This so far we are clear. We created the model and we created the data class application DB. And the next step we are going to do is, as I mentioned, let's create a repository folder. In this folder we will be having one interface and one class. What with the employee, what we can do, we can get the list of employees, get an employee by ID, add employee, update employee, delete employee. I use task because this is asynchronous programming. Employees list itself means it will return list of employees. ID means one employee, add means adding the employee, passing this parameter, updating also passing this object we're updating. and returning int. Deleter means we are simply giving the ID, and based on the input ID we will remove the employee record. And we are going to provide the implementation in the class, which will have the constructor, and in this constructor we are going to use application db contest, because we are going to perform work on db contest objects. So add, save changes, and link query, first or default, remove, and get employee by id, get employee list, update employee, save changes. So next step we are going to do is we should be creating folder called queries. Now this CQRS pattern, what it deals with, queries means read operation. What we have read operations, get employee list and get employee by id. In the get employee list it will inherit I request. This is nothing but from mediator pattern. You can see mediator we are using this reference, which will return what, list of employee details. And the next get employee by id, same here, inheriting this I request mediator provided interface, which will return what, one employee object, which will take one input id object. Now create a commands folder. Commands is for create, update, delete, that operation. So we will be having create employee command, which will have I request interface, which will take employee object. So I have created the one constructor, and you have the what you say, to initialize those properties or fields. We use the constructor initialization. Same like that, update employee. In here I request employee, what is it is returning, where it is returning only int, because we can see in the repository we mentioned return type as int and int for update and delete. So same applied in the int, and we are having the initialization of these properties. And then delete will be having taking only one input, that is id. Now we are done with queries and comments. Next part, important part, is create the handlers, because in handler only we are providing the implementation, means we are calling the repository classes via handlers. First we will go to get employee list. It will have I request handler of mediator, which will take the request as a query get employee list and returns list of this. So you will again have the constructor and initialization of a repository variable, and call that method in the handle method, get employee method. Same like that by id. So here request is by id query and returns employee object. So constructor initialization we all know. In the inside handle method you will call get employee by id, which will take id parameter. Same that create employee. In create employee handler, via create employee command we are going to call the repository methods, and will return the employee object. So for that we will create the new object and pass the data to create employee command. And same like that, delete employee and update employee. Here also handle will provide existing record we will fetch. For that details we are updating with the command. We are updating existing data with a new command object data. So we are, so far we are run fine with the handlers also. Now final section, you need to go to the program and register these three important things, that is mediator, db contest, add scoped, because this is interface dependency injection we are providing implementation this class. This is the application db contest is to make sure you are using the SQL server with this constant string provided in the app settings, and mediator pattern for this assembly. After this, with this we are done ready for the CQRS implementation. Now go to the controller section. Have one controller created which will inherit controller base, because we are working with the web APIs. Have the API controller root. Simply have the constructor and make use of mediator. With mediator we simply, instead of business law implementing here, we are calling get means new list query. Send mediator dot send employee by id, we are passing id object. And add employee means create command, because query is for read, commands are for write operation. So create command object, we are passing a new employee details object. Okay, update also same, employee details object we will be passing, because in employee creation ID is identity property. So update means we are using existing ID details, so we are passing like this. Delete means simply command, we are passing one ID object. So with this, let's run the application and see. It's getting built. So you can see Swagger UI came up. Let's check get, try it out, execute. For time's sake, I have added some records. Let's see, we have already in DB 3 records are available. Let me Peter, Stewie and Louis. Let me post one more. Try it out. His name is Joe. Email is joe@i.com. Designation manager. Project manager. Location NYC. Execute. And you can see that your record got added with ID 4. Let me call by ID. I want to give you number 2. Let's execute. So let me remove the breakpoints. So you can see with 2 we have Stewie record in the database. Let me call put method. So here I want to update Stewie second record with the and email is s@g.com. Designation senior tech lead. Place location NYC. Let's execute. And I can see response 1 is successful. It is success. Let's You can check that by get call. Let me go to get method. Try it out. Let's execute. And you can see Stewie got updated with Griffin, senior tech lead, NYC. So which is working very fine. Let's go to final method, that is delete. So delete here, we want to delete one record, that is number 4. Execute. So it returned the success. Let me check it over here in the get method. Try it out, execute. So you can see only 3 records available. With this, now I hope you understand the CQRS pattern. This is a demo in the launched real-time application. This folder structure, they will simply follow queries and commands. Simply there's in order to interact with the repository classes, queries and commands and the handlers. So this is about this session. Hope you like it. Thank you. Please support going forward as well.